Okay, welcome back. The third in our series of technical videos around cigars concerns humidification and humidors. So, if you're just starting out, you might be thinking about buying a humidor to keep your cigars at home in perfect condition. So what should you look for? Well, first thing to consider is how large a humidor you're going to buy. And in my experience, whatever you think you need, you should probably buy twice the size. I once ended up at home with 3 desktop humidors like this before I figured that I actually needed a much bigger humidor. So think carefully about the size you buy to avoid very quickly having to go out and buy another or a larger one. So what should you look for in a humidor? I would say do look for quality. When you look inside the humidor, what you should find, if you just put your nose in there, is a beautiful cedary smell. Good humidor is lined with Spanish cedar. That's for a number of reasons. Spanish cedar actually exchanges moisture with the cigars at exactly the right level of humidity to keep the cigars in good condition. The other thing is it has a little, as you smell it, a little spicy, peppery smell, and that will just help the cigars to mature and age well. Why a humidor? I always think that a humidor, you have a humidor in order to keep the cigars alive. What you're doing is you're maintaining the leaves of the cigar in perfect condition so that when you do come to smoke it, they're absolutely perfect and they age beautifully. So the humidor should be sealed and there should be some form of humidification in there to keep the cigars in perfect condition. Okay, your humidor's arrived. You're really keen to pop some cigars in it, but there's a stage you need to go through first to ensure that everything's going to work perfectly, and that is to season the humidor. Now, there are 2 different ways of doing this. What you're doing is, you've got to bear in mind that the wood is really very dry, and the first time you introduce some humidity or humidification unit into the humidor is that the wood is just going to soak up all of that moisture. So first thing to do, just before you put any cigars in, you need to damp the inside of the box. And how are you going to do that? What I would tend to do is to take a sponge and some deionized water. Always deionized water because it has no mineral content, and then as the water evaporates you're not going to be left with any mineral residue within the humidor. I would take a small bowl with some deionized water and a little sponge and just really soak the inside, all the dividers, the lid, close the humidor down and leave it for a day, a couple of days, open it up and go through the same process again. Give it a good soaking, close it down and leave it for a couple of days. That way you're soaking the wood, you're giving it a chance to breathe a little. At that point you then want to introduce your hygrometer. Some humidors will come with a hygrometer, a measuring device, a device that will tell you the level of humidity that you're achieving. If it's an electronic device, pop it in. If analog devices are notoriously unreliable, and we'll come on to how you can identify how accurate they are or not, pop that in the unit, close it down, and you'll see what level you're achieving. Another way of doing it is we've got some of these Boveda packs, and one of the Boveda packs comes in at around 84% humidity, much too high for your cigars, but a really good way of seasoning the humidor. You just pop one of these packs in. It's a mixture of water and salt, and you just pop one of those inside the humidor and leave it, and that will give off humidity at 84% and allow the humidor just to adjust up. Okay, once you've got to the required level, then you're safe to reintroduce or to introduce the cigars into the humidor for the first time. All right, so you've seasoned your humidor. and you pop your cigars in, how are you going to keep the cigars at the perfect level of humidity? It may well be that your humidor will come with a little device built into the lid. Sometimes these contain a little bit of Oasis or something like that. If you've bought a cheaper humidor, they may well have those. Again, in my experience, very hard to long term to guarantee the level of humidity that those give off. So have a look at some of the other technologies available. First things first, you may find some of these units which are tubes which you contain either a gel or crystals. You top them up with water up to a certain level, and these will give off a guaranteed level of humidity. Then all you need to do periodically is just keep topping them up, and these fit very nicely in between the cigars. The other alternative, we talked already about the Boveda pack that we used for one of the alternatives for seasoning the humidor. These packs are also available in a variety of different levels of humidity, 69, 70%, and they will give off humidity up to that level, and they're just very neat and clean. As I said, a blend of salts and water in there, and what you can do is to get a little holder like this, again made of Spanish cedar, that will slot into the lid of the humidor, and all you do is slot 1, 2, 3, 4 packs in there, slot that in there, and you're guaranteed that that's giving off humidity at the right level. The pack will, when it arrives, feel nice and liquid. When it gets back down to crystal and crystallized, all you can feel in there is crystallized salt. Then you just throw it away and get another one. It's just a really nice, neat solution. And there are also little packs available should you want to put a couple of those in the lower levels, or actually very useful for if you're transporting cigars. Okay, you've got your humidor set up, and you've got your humidification device in there. How are you going to check the level of humidity? What you need is a hygrometer, and it may well be that your humidor will come with a hygrometer, be it electronic or one of the old-fashioned analog devices. You really need one of those inside there just to check periodically. Most important thing about a humidor is that the level of humidity should be at a constant level. You don't want it rising and falling. So a little device like this with a Velcro pad or a magnetic spot just located inside the humidor ensures that each time you open the lid up, you can quickly check and monitor the level of humidity. However, especially with analog devices, you need to be able to check the level of accuracy of your hygrometer. Okay, you've got your hygrometer, but how do you know how accurate it is? Let's talk very quickly about a really simple test that you can do called a salt test. So, take a small cap, drinks cap, bottle cap, and fill it with normal household salt. Drop onto it 7 or 8 drops of water, and pop that into a Ziploc bag. Take your hygrometer and pop that in there too, zip it up, and leave that for 24 hours sealed up. The salt will give off humidity at exactly 75%. So then you can go open it up after 24 hours, or have a look through the bag in 24 hours, check the level that the hygrometer is reporting, and you will know the level plus or minus the level of accuracy of your hygrometer. That way you can always adjust, pop your hygrometer back in there, but always know that you're 3% out. And I think if with an analog hygrometer, you'll be amazed at how inaccurate they are, in my experience. Okay, the ideal level of humidity within your humidor. The little leaflet that comes with the Habanos cigars will tell you that there's quite a wide range, somewhere between 65 and 70%. Ultimately, the level of humidity that you maintain your cigars at is going to depend partly on whether you want to, you're aging the cigars, or whether you're storing them in a desktop humidor like this just to smoke. So again, vary it or adjust it accordingly, and find out what level of humidity best suits your taste. I do know of some people who keep their cigars in humidors at a relatively high level at 68-69%, but actually like to smoke their cigars slightly lower humidity, so they may well store the cigars in a humidor but take the cigars out a day or a couple of days before they smoke them, and just put them in a box out in the normal atmosphere and dry box, as they would call it, dry box the cigar, just to let the humidity drop away a little before they smoke them. As with so many things in cigars, try it. Try different levels, try dry boxing a little until you find the absolute optimum level of humidification for storage, and also for the level at which you like to smoke your cigar. Okay, you've got your humidor all nicely set up, and you're going to pop your cigars away and just let them rest in there. But there are some important things to remember. In the humidor, there's still a very low level of fermentation going on. The cigars are aging, and in order for that to happen in the perfect conditions, you do need to introduce periodically little fresh air, little oxygen. So you should always check the humidor every now and then, and also probably just to rotate the cigars. If you've got cigars stacked one on top of the other, just move them around a little, give them a check, and just allow them to breathe a little before you close it up again. The other thing you need to do is just keep an eye on the cigars. These days, cigars before they leave Cuba are frozen, so you shouldn't have any problems, and if you keep the humidity at the recommended levels, you shouldn't have any problems with tobacco beetle, but it's worth keeping an eye and checking, especially if you've got cigars from sources that you're not really too sure about. If they come through the proper sources, again, they'll have been frozen, no problem. No problem with tobacco beetle, you shouldn't have. But if you find any little pin holes in the cigars, that means you have got a problem, and you should isolate those cigars because you might have a problem with beetle. What you may find with cigars that have been sitting in the humidor for a while and aging is a very light white powder on the cigar, and that's called bloom or plume. And actually, for most cigar aficionados, that's the perfect condition for the cigar. What it is a little bit of the oils from the cigar leaf just crystallizing on the surface. And if you find that, really don't worry about it. When you come to smoke the cigar, you might just want to brush it off with a brush, but otherwise it just shows that the cigars are in perfect condition. If you get mold appearing, a green mold appearing, it means you've got the humidity much too high, and you really need to get rid of that very quickly. Okay, we've talked about desktop humidors. These days, again, if you bought a desktop and you're running out of space, or you might decide you want to do it a slightly different way, there are a number of other ways of storing cigars. I know people who keep cigars in large Tupperware containers, or sometimes you might keep them, your overflow stock, in Ziploc bags. Key thing to remember there is that when you're keeping it in a Tupperware or a Ziploc bag, they are hermetically sealed and there's no oxygen getting in and out. So you do need periodically just to open the bag up, let a little fresh air, a little oxygen into to your cigars, and always keep checking them, because the humidity can build in there. But otherwise, that's covered humidity for you. I hope you've learned something. We'll be back later in the year with another in our series of technical videos, but for now, thanks very much indeed.